Hey everybody, Drew here for Games here on YouTube.com, coming at you with a new thing called the D&G Show. Joining me for it is my co-host for this, Goochie. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great.
So the idea for this came about when we were doing the podcast, and I was basically going over what the sequel trilogy for Star Wars should have been. Right?
Correct.
And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about what else? The next gen consoles. Now I call them next gen because obviously we can't fucking get them anywhere. So they won't be current gen until they're on store shelves. Which means the Xbox One and PS4 are current gen until further notice, as far as I'm concerned. Would you agree?
Correct.
So with that being said, what we're doing today is basically going over the shit that happened, what Sony and Microsoft could have done different to prevent it, and then scrapping everything and going over what Gucci and I would have done if we had control over launch of Xbox Series consoles and the PS5 by the end of the show. So with that said, are you ready to rehash everything that's happened?
Sure thing.
So, back in November, I believe it was the 5th or the 7th or something like that, we got the launch of the Xbox Series X and S. Now, the Xbox Series X is the one with the disk drive. The Xbox Series S is the all-digital version.
Now, are they both giant towers?
No. The digital version of the Xbox, the Xbox Series S, which is the digital version, is a small, slim, like, white thing with a big black speaker right in the center of it. Which is not actually a speaker, it's actually a vent, but it makes it look like a fucking boombox from the 80s.
Yeah.
And there's a meme all over the internet about it. And then the Xbox One X is the tower looking thing, which actually looks pretty good. But I think all of this started when pre-orders started for both the Xboxes and the PlayStation 5, in which scalpers scalped the fuck out of the pre-orders. And there was no communication between Sony and Microsoft and retailers when the pre-orders went live. And then we saw the same fucking shit when the consoles launched. By the way, they only launched on the internet, not physically in stores even now.
Well, a couple things I would have done for the pre-launch is one, wait until I had more consoles to sell.
Well, that'll come when we get to that part. Because we're still hashing out what the fuck has happened.
Yeah.
And speaking of scalpers, they're still getting fucking consoles to this day. And general customers or gamers still can't. Because last I was aware, there were still none available at Target. So, yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, and this I'm currently thinking about doing an Is It Worth It on this topic, but is it worth it to even get a next-gen console for the foreseeable future? My answer to that is no, it's not. Because if you look at the games that are available for it, all but 2 of them, I think, are available on PS4, and everything that's available for Series X is on Xbox One anyway, so there's no reason to, at all. On top of the fact that you can't fucking find one. So, with that being said, that's basically everything outside of the prices, which we all know is $499 for the physical editions of the PS5 and the Series X, and $399 for the digital version of the Xbox Series console, and then $399 for the digital version of the PS5. Anything to add?
No, I mean, at this point, I know it's taboo, but I could probably get a digital version at $3.99 instead of the $5.99 with the disc drive in it.
First of all, and you will get this later on in the show even more when we get to it, but fuck digital only. Because to tie yourself to a company with a digital console is really fucking stupid, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because that means that you're solely dependent on the whim of the company that even if you do nothing wrong, if they ban your account, you lose your entire fucking game collection at that point.
True, very true.
That's why I'm never going to support all digital. That's why I am going to continue doing what I do and have a balance of digital and physical. If it's something that I physically actually want to do it, well, first of all, I do unboxings on the channel, so I lean towards physical anyway for that reason. But secondly, even if I didn't, I would still probably prefer physical just to actually, if if something goes wrong with the company that made the game, I still got the fucking game at that point.
Mm.
So there's that to think about too. But with that
The
being,
only problem with getting a physical disc drive is the price, basically.
so what's your point?
That's my point. Is it's $5.99, which
$4.99.
$4.99. Thank you.
Quit jacking up the price. Don't give them fucking ideas.
Mm.
Anyway, speaking of ideas, now we're gonna come to the point where we come up with ideas that or things that Microsoft and Sony could have done different to make shit better for the launch of the console. So for starters, we're just gonna keep the launch day exactly where it is. We're not gonna change that at this point. We'll save that for when we basically relaunch the stuff ourselves. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to start with Xbox or PlayStation here?
Either or.
Well,
PlayStation.
alright, we'll go with PlayStation, even though the hat that I'm wearing and the t-shirt I'm wearing, fuck Naughty Dog. We'll start with PlayStation. So, what would help the PlayStation actually be on store shelves? There's only one thing that would help. Allow for buying physically in the fucking store and exclude online orders. Because that would get rid of the potential of scalpers completely at that point. Which would mean then the only way to get it is to walk in the store and buy it for the time being. Till shit calms down. But God forbid doing that because everyone is scared of their own fucking shadow in this world now. Anything to add to that, Gucci?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily exclude online orders, but I definitely track numbers of cards and limit at least 2 per household.
Well, even if you do that, first of all, retail sites are so lackadaisical, are so lazy with their security that they can't do shit like that. Case in point, even retailer websites do something to prohibit scalpers, their bots still get around that shit.
Hmm.
So nothing retailers do actually help. And this is coming from someone who works in the retail industry, by the way. So yes, this means I'm throwing my own industry under the bus. And rightly so, because we're a bunch of fucking morons.
Hmm.
It's At times it's like we're a bunch of chickens running around with our head cut off. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know how to fix shit. But anyway. So that's what would help to get rid of scalpers in my honest opinion. Now, in regards to anything else for PlayStation, well, they do have 2 games that are exclusive to it, so there are 2 selling points for it. So there's not much to talk about for games. Especially since, well, you do have a fan base over on PS4 that aren't necessarily going to jump over anytime soon anyway, so supporting cross-gen games is a brilliant idea at this point, so
And you know what I also do in this situation?
yeah,
Continuously be making the product.
that would help.
I mean, they shouldn't need to run out of them if they're just continuously making them.
Well, the problem that I was just alluding to, they keep running out is because scalpers keep snatching them up like within seconds, fucking everywhere. Meaning there's scarcity, meaning demand is not getting met, meaning these scalpers are creating artificial scarcity of of the consoles. And that's a major fucking problem that nobody's addressing. So with that being said, I think we're about ready to move on to Xbox here, right?
Yeah.
So what would help Xbox? Well, there's a problem with people mistakenly ordering the wrong console, so I'm thinking something small to help with things and to help with game development. Release only one console. Screw the digital version. And the same thing goes for PlayStation. But less so for them because it's basically the same console just without a disk drive on PlayStation side. That's not the case with Xbox. The Series S is quite a bit weaker than the Series X, which makes it irrelevant, which makes the question need to be asked: why does the Xbox Series S exist? Gucci, anything to add?
No.
So on top of that, let's talk about games. Everything is cross-compatible with Xbox One, and that's well and good, but you need a selling point to the system, and you don't really have that. Because, well, with the exception of one game, I think, because while it's listed on Game Pass for Xbox One, you can't actually download and play it, and that's that one horror game. What the hell is it called again? I can't remember its name at the moment, but it's the one with that basically there's the physical world and there's the spiritual world in split screen on the screen at the same time. But I can't remember the name of it though. But from everything I'm seeing, that's only playable on the Xbox Series X at this point. So, and the S by proxy, because reasons, I guess. But other than that, there's basically nothing. So I think there needs to be at least one other game, one that actually sells the system, And we know that can't be Halo because that's not ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, when it comes to exclusive games, Microsoft has had a problem with that for the last like 7 years. So there's not much more I can say to that other than overall what would fix the situation with Xbox on top of what I already said about PlayStation 5 and then the game situation. As well as not releasing an all digital version, just the Xbox One, or sorry, just the Xbox Series X. That would help a lot. And
And another thing that would help would be regarding the system's name to Xbox One, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
well, we'll get to that when we actually pretend that we control Sony and Microsoft when releasing the consoles, which is in 3, 2, 1 now. So with that said, since we started with PlayStation in the previous segment, we might as well continue with that now. So you and I control Sony and we're releasing the PS5. Is it going to be called the PS5? I say yes.
Yes, definitely.
When it comes to reverse compatibility, I know it's probably going to drive up the price of the system, but it needs to be done. Because look what Microsoft is doing with reverse compatibility. So, we would be trying to make the PlayStation 5 reverse compatible with PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 games. Specific,
Precisely.
specifically all, and I mean all PS4 games. And if we have to try to emulate the PS3 2 and 1 if necessary to run as many games as we can get running on on said emulator.
And I would have PS3 games available over the PS5 consoles, and you don't have to hunt for them in stores,
Yeah,
along with PS2 and PS1.
yeah, they would be available on the digital storefront. Yeah, they would have to be at that point
Mm.
of the games that work. That is
Mm.
because if the game doesn't work on the system, it doesn't make sense to sell it. You know.
Yep.
But also, with that, I wouldn't change the UI or anything like that from what I've seen on the internet because I haven't played these things because can't fucking find one. And it's not even worth it at this point. So,
Mm.
but now we come to the bigger elephants in the room for the PS5. The release date. Well, I wouldn't have released it in 2020. Honestly, I feel that the release date for next gen, across the board, much less PS5, should have honestly been next year being 2022 or 2023.
I'd almost, I'd almost hesitant to say wait till 2025.
If that's your opinion, and I can't tell you that it can't be.
Mm.
Nor will I ever say that to you.
Because frankly, I like the PS4. I mean, it's running fine. I'm playing games on it. It's
Mm-hmm.
got good graphics.
Yeah, it does. And then there's another thing that I would, if I'm controlling Sony, I wouldn't be telling developers that, hey, you can't have this in your game because I don't like it. Fuck that attitude. And fuck censorship. If if a developer has a certain art style to their game and it's not a complete pile of shit functionality wise, go ahead and release it on my fucking console. I want you to have your game on the console at that point. Gucci, anything to add?
I wouldn't necessarily say fuck censorship because, well, in this way, I mean, for kids, I mean, you wouldn't
Well,
want
well,
kids playing exactly cyberpunk, would you?
well. First of all, it's rated M for mature, so kids should not be getting it anyway.
Alright, so that way it is sort of censored.
The ratings board is supposed to exist for a reason when they do their job correctly. That's that's why the gaming industry had to create that because parents were agitating about violence in video games like Mortal Kombat back in the day. The SRB was created so that parents could see, hey, this game is perfectly acceptable for my children. E for everybody. This game
Mm-hmm.
isn't rated M. Only only like 18 and up should be playing this game. That's why that exists.
So there is censorship in that way.
Well, it's basically a warning label, but when I'm talking about censorship, I mean like putting a lens flare like over something in a game because you don't want people to see it. God forbid someone sees a butt crack,
Mm.
or God forbid someone sees a shoulder. That's where censorship in this country in the entertainment industry is going to. Pretty soon we're going to be having characters in games wearing shit from the neck up all the way down to the bottom of their feet. You can't see their neck, ankles, shoulder, wrist, hands, fingernails, nothing, because everything's off limits. What are we in the 19 fucking 30s all of a sudden?
Mm.
This is 2021. This is not progressive. This is regression, motherfuckers. So, sorry for the rant, everybody. But I'm pissed about this shit. In case you can't tell. But anyway, back to the show as originally intended. Sorry, guys. But where were we? Oh yeah, the release date of the systems. Uh, well, of the PS5 anyway.
I'd wait till 2025 to release the systems,
I wouldn't be
and
against it.
I definitely do it that late because then you have time to test the system to see if it actually works.
Yeah, because there's been issues with them. But then again, that's
Mm.
always the case with new hardware anyway.
Mm.
And now we gotta talk about the price. Seeing as how we're having full reverse compatibility, and with the level of tech that's actually in the PS5 that actually did come out, I don't think there's any way that we can sell this thing for any less than $500. So I'm thinking $499 for it. We sell it at a loss like consoles do. And even if that's a big loss, because we will make it up in PlayStation Plus and the software sales for the game, i.e., the game sales.
Yeah, and this is why I'd probably wait until the price was down for the PS5 to get one.
Especially with like certain components inside the system, because by 2025, the stuff you want to put in it now will be cheaper
Mm-hmm.
by then too. So in theory, maybe it could be $399 by 2025.
And that's what I'm hoping for.
That's a fair point. So with that being said, that's what we would have done differently with PS5. Let's get to Xbox, and then get the show over with at that point.
Mm.
So with that said, what would we change about the Xbox Series consoles? Well, there would only be one for starters, and two, it wouldn't be called Xbox Series X. I would call it the Xbox. Well, in theory,
How
either.
many have there been since the last one?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. Because there was the original Xbox, the first one, Xbox 360, the second one, Xbox One, the third. So in theory, you could call this the Xbox 4. Or you could look at it with every model of Xbox there's ever been. Original Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox 360 Slim, Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X. So this would make potentially the next gen Xbox the Xbox 7. So it's either the Xbox 4 or the Xbox 7. Anything to add so far?
No, because I think that's exactly what they should do with it is change the name.
So what would we call it? 4 or 7? Pick one.
Well, how, how many physical consoles have there been?
There have been
Seven?
there's been 6 different models so far. So the next gen Xbox would be the 7th.
Yeah, so I call it Xbox 7.
Okay, there we go. So we're calling this Xbox 7 at this point for the sake of, well, if we were the ones releasing the next gen consoles. I wouldn't change anything about the reverse compatibility because it's perfectly fine just the way it is for the Xbox. I would delay the console till Halo is ready. So that way, for the first time ever, a Halo game launches side by side with a next gen Xbox. Because Halo Infinite is going to sell the system once the game releases. Gucci?
Yeah, and definitely waiting until at least Halo comes out.
Yeah, so launch the system with Halo whenever the hell that is. But speaking of release date, I would release it either just the same year that the PS5 is. Am I right, Gucci?
Well,
So in
yes,
your case, that was 2025. So release the
yeah,
Xbox 7 that year.
yeah, 2025, yeah.
So that way, Halo is definitely ready, and by that time, maybe even Fable from Playground Games might be ready by then. So,
Mm-hmm.
so you'd have at least 2 first-party games right there. And then for all we know, Avowed might be ready from Obsidian. So there's 3 potential exclusives right there by 2025. So, and Starfield might even be out, so there's a multiplat there that people are interested in playing too. And I'm one of them. Everything just points to next gen should have just waited. If not the state of the world that we find ourselves in being the biggest deterrent as we're currently seeing because no one can get the fucking systems, then some of the games like even on PlayStation side, Ratchet and Clank isn't ready. The next God of War isn't ready. Uh, the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn isn't ready. Everything should have just waited till 2025.
Mm-hmm.
By that time, the games, there would have been such an influx of AAA first party games for both systems that if you could only get one, well, you were going to have to make a hard choice. Now, if you could get both, that you would be in the best situation of any gamer at that point.
Correct.
Because then you would be able to get to play your favorite games on PlayStation that you got, and the best of the exclusives of Xbox that they got. It it would have been a gaming renaissance. Instead, everyone's got to stay home, play games that aren't coming. So with that being said, the price. I would keep it at its current price at this point because
And
because of the tech in it.
yeah,
But if it's releasing in 2024, for all we know, like we saw with PlayStation, maybe it could be $3.99 for the Xbox 7 by then, for all we know.
Yeah. And that's why I'm gonna. Well, that's one of the reasons why I'm gonna wait. The other reason is, like you said, games, and the other reason is that my PS4 works perfectly fine. I mean,
Mm.
why go out and lay down $500 for a system that is questionable at best if it works,
And the
and
and the and the games coming out for it, you can already play on what you got anyway. So,
precisely.
which are the which means the biggest reasons that I don't give a shit about next gen are the scarcity, the games that you can play 90 way over 90% of them you can play on the hardware you got already at home anyway. And three, just because of the direction that both companies have taken with launching these things, I just don't have any interest at this point because they're both seeming like idiots right now. Because they keep touting about record sales, and I'm sitting here going, how? How are you even selling them, much less getting record sales for your new shiny fucking toy of systems when they're not in fucking stores anywhere and majority of them are sitting in a scalper's fucking basement, meaning, by the way, when since consoles get sold at a loss, they make that up in software sales. Well, you're not getting any software sales on systems sitting in a box in a scalper's basement, guys. You
Mm.
only lost money on those boxes.
Well, the only reason why they're making record sales is probably because of the scalpers.
Except for those companies don't see the money that the scalpers get for those systems. That's secondhand selling of those systems. They don't see that money.
Well, no, I'm not saying the scalpers selling them. I'm saying the scalpers buying them.
Well, yeah, but secondly, if like regular customers bought everything out, they would still be getting the same amount of money they're claiming. But this wasn't as rampant with the Xbox One and PS4, to my knowledge at least.
Hmm.
At least people were able to find them on store shelves and buy them.
This is why I say that the companies that made them should have continuously be making them instead of making just some of them and then having a shortage.
Well, everyone keeps saying it's because of the current state of the world that they can't make more systems, which might be
Hmm.
understandable, but the more people say that, the more I'm sick and tired of fucking hearing it. And it seems like both Sony and Microsoft are just using that as a crutch for why they suck. But with that being said, that's all I got on the next gen systems for this first episode of the D&G show. Do you have anything else about PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, Gucci, before we call it a day?
No, we can call it a day.
All right. With that being said, thank you for tuning in, everybody, or clicking on the video. If you haven't seen, I have my first episode of my Let's Play of Cyberpunk 2077 up on the channel. And if you want to catch me playing stuff live on Xbox, please head over to my Twitch channel, that's Drew Games over on Twitch, to find me playing Xbox games live over there. Once the copyright strike lifts on the gaming channel of Drew Gaming, you'll be able to find me playing the PlayStation stuff over here on YouTube on that channel. With that being said, from Goochie and myself, thank you for tuning in. Please hit the like, subscribe while you're here. Go follow me on Twitch. And considering a friend that I've recently made on the PlayStation, or sorry, on Nintendo Switch Online, I encourage you guys to go follow Krista Nova on Twitch, as well as her YouTube channel, that Dragon Ball girl, or whatever the name is. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. I will be back on Friday airing the next episode of the gaming podcast with Desert Nord. By the way, the last episode is up on the channel for you to watch. There, Gucci.
Okay, will do.
And I believe we're talking about Nintendo sales and the information about MLB The Show. Yeah. So with that being said, see you guys in the next one. Have a great day. Enjoy the Super Bowl this evening. And if anyone watching is a fan of Geeks and Gamers, I will see you guys in the live chat when they play Mario Kart tonight. Later, guys.